Now we go into the most affected. As you can imagine, some of the most affected people are obviously low-wage employees. So if you're not bringing in, a livable wage, that's going to affect your ability to be able to buy foods too. Then you have single-parent households. Now, I believe I covered this though in the 4 dimensions of food securities. I covered this in 201. And it's usually where the mother is the head of the household, because oftentimes moms, especially the single mom, when they're not getting any help, oftentimes the mothers themselves can be food insecure because they essentially make sure that all their kids eat, which means they may not, or maybe they're having to ration out food, which of course means your body doesn't get the full bed of nutrients that it should in order for like cellular processes, right? Cellular reproduction and things like that, or our reproductive systems, hormones, neurological transmissions and systems, right? Neurological health to avoid degeneration. All that stuff is important. Children and the older individuals, they tend to be the most affected by food insecurities because children obviously, they don't feed themselves. They don't necessarily buy their own food. They are children. That's the work of the parents, right? That's the job of them. That's their role. So older individuals oftentimes, they don't, because they get older, there are things that older individuals need more of as opposed to somebody my age or in my age group, or even someone who's younger, right? Even children in the generations behind me. One of the common things they deal with, just as an example, is osteoporosis, right? Bones weakening as they get older. So in order to avoid that, they face a recommendation of an uptick in vitamin D and even some calcium, because then that helps with, keeping your bones nice and strong and healthy. And you have certain racial populations. So obviously, going back to poverty, so Native Americans, they're the ones that suffer the highest in poverty, and then African Americans follow right behind it. However, African Americans, their food insecurity totaled a little over 24%. Then there's the Latin population, they follow behind at 20%, and white households were about 10%. While Native Americans, they suffer the highest in poverty, Black Americans suffer the highest in food insecurities in this country. So now there's rural and underserved urban areas, right? I covered a little bit of the rural, so that's like the countryside, big open fields, farms, or what have you. If you farm your own food, you're a little better off usually. But if you happen to live in a rural area with no ability to farm your own foods, no ability to get foods at a supermarket or what have you, and then also underserved urban areas. So obviously areas in that are predominant African American, they tend to be the ones that also face the highest poverty.